Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought that I would take you step by step and a get ready with me on how I do my makeup. We buy all this expensive and beautiful makeup and sometimes we just kind of sit around and like, how do we use it? How do we use our makeup? So let's do our makeup together today. If you're new, welcome. I love all makeup, luxury, indie, drugstore sometimes. I like talking about makeup. We have a makeup and chill live stream on Fridays. So definitely join us for Fridays. It's a lot of fun. To give you a little bit of a backstory on me, I am 40 plus, I say. I'm gonna be 42 in 2 months. And I fell in love with makeup like 3 or 4 years ago, not very long ago. Before that, I was like the one foundation, one eyeshadow, one blush for a whole year until I ran out. And once I got into makeup and skincare, I kind of just dove head in first. And now I'm just a lover of all things beauty. So today I want to show you how I do my makeup, kind of go through reasons why I do things the way I do, because I've played with these products quite a bit and have figured out exactly what works for me. Now, I have oily skin, I have large pores, I do have some fine lines in this area, not too much. And right now it's the winter time, so my skin is not as oily as it normally is, but it's still pretty oily in the T-zone. So I like to go in with a mattifying primer. Today I'm gonna use the Milk Makeup Matte Primer. One thing that I wanna say about the primer is, one, when you put it on, make sure and let it sit for at least a minute or two. I noticed especially with this primer here is when I let it dry a little bit, that's when I start to see the mattifying happen on my skin. I have made the mistake of applying it and then immediately going in with a foundation, and it doesn't do as good a job as if I just let it sit there for a little bit. All the products will be listed down below in the description box. They are affiliate links, so if you use them, I do make a small commission, but it doesn't cost you anything, or, you know, they're safe to use, all of that. So if you're interested, check those out. My lighting, I feel, is a little off, but anyway, today's about technique. So what I've been loving lately is mixing my foundations. Today I'm gonna mix two of my favorites because I'm trying to pan this Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation, and it's very skin-like, but also just a tad bit mattifying, I would say. And then I'm gonna mix in my favorite foundation of the moment of 2022. It was my best of beauty, the #1 de Chanel. This one's a little bit more of a hydrating feel. Not luminous or dewy, but just a little more hydrating, so I like to mix them. Also, that's a tip, like during the winter when we lose a little bit of color, don't rush to go buy another foundation. Just look and see in your collection what's a little lighter versus what's a little warmer or darker, and just start mixing. I kind of fell into that this year, last year, kind of just become I became a little mixologist. What I love to do is go in with a brush first. This is the Baby 101, the 109 from BK Beauty, such a good brush. They're going to be sold individually starting on the 17th. I think you'll be watching this video the day before or the week that they start selling individually. I do have a code with BK Beauty, so you can use that. It'll be in my description box. Saves you 10%. That one's not affiliated. So I like to go in with my brush and just kind of in light layers go over the area. And I'll give you one more tip after I'm done here so that it looks extra skin-like. Go over again any areas that you may want a little more coverage on. Okay, so I used 1 pump of each, and for everyday makeup, like for the office and stuff, I like to go in pretty lightly. This is all that I require. Unless you really need full coverage, I really recommend a light layer. We're still gonna kind of glam it up with concealer and powder and all the other things, but this makes it look really natural and very pretty during the day. So I like to take a dry sponge after this. This is a Stands Out Beauty Sponge, and I like to press it in. Sometimes during the summer especially, I'll go in with a setting spray at this point and I'll press it in. Some foundations, even if they're really good, have a tendency to just sit on top of the skin when you go in with a brush. However, the brush is going to give a really pretty finish. So I like to do it with a brush, but I like to press it in with a sponge. I will tell you though, with this little brush specifically, you really don't have to go in too much with a sponge. If you don't have this brush, this is a tip that I like to use to really press in the foundation to my skin and make it look just like skin. Okay, next is a concealer, and I do like to go in with a little bit of a fuller coverage when it comes to my concealer. This is the Pat McGrath concealer, and I go in pretty light with this one because it is a full coverage concealer. I just do a tiny bit here and a tiny bit here. I used to do the whole like Instagram like triangle thing, but it's too much if you have any fine lines here. And then with this one specifically, it's really full coverage, so I will not go as hard because I want it to look natural. You know, I want the coverage there, but I want it to look natural. And I will let it sit there for just a few minutes, not too long. I like to put it here a little bit because, I don't know, I feel like it cleans up this area, getting it ready for lipstick. But the other areas in the face, I don't let the concealer sit. I go right in and start blending. I don't know if you can tell, I just kind of cleaned it up in this area. All the brushes and stuff that I use, I'll leave linked down below. Dry sponge. I'm going to go over this area here. Okay, my concealer has been sitting for about 30 to 60 seconds at this point. So I'm going to take my setting spray and spray my brush. You guys know I use this method all the time. And start spreading the concealer. Now I barely spray my brush. I mean, it almost feels dry. There's just a tiny little bit on there. I noticed that if I spray it too much, then it'll kind of make the concealer streak a little bit because it's too diluted. So it's just to mist the brush ever so lightly. Look at how pretty and natural that looks because we didn't use a ton of product. So it still covered everything I wanted it to cover. Remember that darkness there? But it looks natural. It doesn't look like I have, you know, the very, very defined white under eye. Now, if you have really dark under eyes and you think that that little bit of product will not cover your under eyes, go in with a corrector first, which will also allow for you to use less product. The one that I recommend is the Charlotte Tilbury. It's just really nice. It's kind of balmy and it just kind of soaks right into the skin. Now, up to this point, we've been going in with a dry sponge. This time under the eyes, I do like to just spray my sponge and go in with kind of a damp sponge with setting spray under my eyes. That will push the product in and also help it with staying power. Going in with my favorite under eye setting powder. This is the Pat McGrath under eye blurring powder. I usually use a sponge, but all of my sponges and brushes are in my bathroom because they need to be washed. This brush is really good though. I have one in my purse, in my makeup bag, everywhere. I usually will set with this powder in all areas where I used the concealer. Okay, that's looking very good. I want to use my Chanel. This is the Le Beige Bronzing Cream, the Healthy Glow Bronzing Cream. I wanted to use this because this is a really pricey item, you guys. This is the new formula, and I've kind of stayed away from it a little bit, just not really figuring out how to use it. Everybody loved it. Everybody raves about it, and it just sometimes would get a little patchy for me. But recently, I've been using it with a brush, actually, whereas before I was always trying to use it with a sponge. And this is the BK Beauty 111. It's a bronzer brush from the line extension, and I just kind of dab in there a little bit, and you can almost see there's nothing on there, so it seems, but it creates a really nice light bronze. Do you see that? And it doesn't make it like patchy. It doesn't stick anywhere. It just gives it like a little glow, and I really, really like that. So now that I've been using it with this brush, I don't know, I like the product so much more. So I'm excited because look at that. Just such a soft application because it's a pricey item. I can apply and apply and it doesn't look like too much. I love how airbrushed it looks with this brush. It just has made all the difference in this product for me. When you contour, I've got like a little bit of this going on. When you contour the neck, I would say always go below the jawline to create that shadow. Some people go on top. It doesn't work for me. I like to go below, right under the jowl. And then I just learned this recently, when you bronze the forehead, which I have a big forehead, I do initially go into the product here, but then I blend into the hairline. I don't blend down, I blend into the hairline. Make it look more natural, so that it doesn't look like I'm bringing the bronzer down into my eyebrows. Look at how soft and pretty that looks. I'm telling you, it made all the difference on this product for me. And it's like, I'm not contoured, I'm not chiseled, because that's not what I was going for. I just wanted to bronze up my face. So it definitely looks like I did that in a very soft way. I like to put bronzer on my nose. I don't use the cream. I have oily skin, so we'll do that in a minute. Gonna go in with my powder bronzer. This is the Dior Forever Bronze. And I'm just gonna go in softly. This Chanel one, it dries down instantly, especially if you're not going in with a lot like we did with that brush. But this just kind of sets everything in. See, so what I've got going is just a soft bronze. Do you see that? Like nothing too chiseled, nothing too structured, just a soft bronze everywhere. Okay, so for highlight, during the week when I'm not doing full glam, I like a subtle highlight. The one that I've been loving recently is this Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Multi Glow. I know she just came out with a new one, but you know, again, I'm really focusing on enjoying the beautiful makeup I already have. So I go in, usually I go in, because of my skin tone, to the top and the bottom. And just very so lightly. Do you see what a nice glow? Very subtle glow. Look at that glow. Some people use the highlight before the blush. I don't. I use it, or after the blush. I use it before, because sometimes I'll cover my cheeks and I want the blush to go over that to mattify it a little bit. The blush I'm going to use is going to be the Hourglass at Night blush. Such a beautiful burnt red. When I'm a little worried about the tone, if it's going to be too dark, I always go in with a brush like this. It's kind of not as dense. This is the Angie 506, I think, 507. Just lightly dab. Get a little bit of product. Maybe dab on my hand a little bit and start from the back. That way, if it's too deep, we can fix it before we get to the middle of the face. See what I mean? Like, it didn't matter that we had such light foundation coverage, because once you add the concealer, the bronzer, the blush, like everything else, you're gonna look made up. So that's why I recommend you go light on the foundation if you don't require the full coverage. Okay, now I'm going to set the face. Now, I like to go either with a pressed powder. If I do, this Gucci one is beautiful. Loose powder, the Givenchy, the Prisme Libre is gorgeous. I have the shade 04, which is the one that I'm going to use today. And basically, what you do is you take out the sponge that comes with it. I do love it, but you take it out. And then you have just a little bit, you tap, and then you just mix around so that you can shake all the different colors together. Like the green is to correct the redness, the purple or the lavenders to brighten. And so that's what we do. There is quite a bit of product that's in there now. So what I do is I just take my sponge and I just kind of dab it lightly. And then I take the top and I just kind of pat off the excess there. Then you have your sponge ready. And I like to set the areas where the bronzer and the blush are not. So I'll set the middle. That's why I haven't done the bronzer on my nose yet. This powder is so beautiful. It's so blurring. I can even use this on under my eyes, which my eyes are pretty finicky. They're a little dry, but this even looks gorgeous under the eyes. At this point, if you feel like your blush is too blush in or whatever, you can also just very lightly pass the sponge over it to kind of bring it down a little bit. If you have dry skin, you may not need to do this, but I have heard from people with dry skin and they also love this powder so much. It's just very blurring, very beautiful. Last step that I like to do, just because I'm a little extra, is I like to take like an oversized eye brush. This is the Refer 15. I usually use the 15 or the 16. Both of them work well. And I use this for my nose, just to kind of contour or like snatch it up a little bit. So I go into my powder bronzer, not the cream bronzer, the powder bronzer, and I will just tap very, very lightly. And I like to start here and go in a little circle, like to give myself a button nose appearance. And then I will take it down the sides. Now, when I say down the sides, I don't go on the side. I kind of go on the top, but towards the opposite side here. Because if you go too down, it makes your nose look wider. But if you go right on top here, it'll kind of snatch it up a little bit. I don't know if you can tell. It's very, very slight, but it makes my nose look just a little bit more pointy, more button nose-like. I love it. Put a little bit here always just to kind of plump up the lips a little bit. I even use this brush, like if I wanted a little bit more chiseled of a cheekbone, I'll just slightly take this here. I don't normally do this, but sometimes I will. If I want just a little bit more definition, I might use it here. I don't know if you can tell. Okay, and with that, my face is ready. So I go in with my setting spray. After this step, I used to just press it in with a sponge, but I don't do that anymore. I like to use a fan. It works nicely. I just feel like I've already set my face with powder, so I don't want to disturb it any further, so the fan works great. Okay, so here's the final look. I really like how it came out. More than anything, I love how it looks in person because it's gonna look very well put together. The skin looks really, really good, you guys. It doesn't look cakey or too makeup-y, nothing like that. Everything looks very, very good in natural light, which is what we want. A lot of the times we watch people do their makeup on camera with these lights and everything. And today my lights are off, but we think that that's how much product we should be applying. We think that that's going to look super good in person like it does in camera. And that's not reality. With the lights, with the camera, with the lens, everything needs to be upped just a little bit in order for it to look really good. But this here, although you can hardly see like the bronzer, the blush on camera, in person it looks really good. So I wanted to share how I actually do my makeup every single day. And I hear this a lot is, I don't know how to do this or I don't know how to do that. So I'm not a makeup artist, but I feel like I've been playing with makeup for a few years now and I know how to apply it to where it looks good. So today's video was all about like learning how to use all the beautiful makeup that you bought and making sure that you get good use out of it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new here and you're still here, please consider subscribing. We have a lot of fun and I will see you guys over on my Instagram and TikTok. So have a good day and I will see you guys soon. Bye.